The fluorescent hum of the county benefits office felt like a low, persistent headache. Elias Thorne, a man whose tailored suit had long since given way to threadbare tweed, sat hunched over a stack of forms. His hands, gnarled with age and a faint tremor, fumbled with a pen. He was trying to renew his disability claim, a process that grew more convoluted each year. Next, a sharp voice cut through the air. Miss Albright, the clerk behind the counter, tapped an acrylic nail impatiently against her keyboard. Her perfectly coiffed hair and crisp blouse seemed to mock the worn dignity of Elias's presence. Elias slowly pushed himself up, leaning heavily on his polished oak cane. "That's me, dear," he mumbled, his voice raspy. He shuffled forward, the cane thudding softly on the linoleum floor. "Name, sir?" Miss Albright asked, not looking up from her screen. Her tone was already laced with a weary condescension. "Thorne. Elias Thorne." "And what's the nature of your visit today, Mr. Thorne?" she asked, her voice rising slightly, as if speaking to a child. "The claim, the renewal. For my leg." He gestured vaguely towards his left leg, which had a subtle, almost imperceptible stiffness in its movement. A loud sigh came from the line behind him. "Some of us have actual jobs to get to, a man boomed. Mr. Sterling, a portly man in an expensive suit, checked his watch with theatrical exasperation. "Can't these old-timers get their paperwork straight before they come in?" Miss Albright offered a tight, sympathetic smile to Mr. Sterling, then turned back to Elias, her expression hardening. "Mr. Thorne, did you bring all the necessary documentation? Your medical records, proof of residence, the updated income statements." She rattled off a list, her words a blur to Elias's aging ears. He blinked, reaching into his inner jacket pocket. I believe so. It's all here, I think." He pulled out a thick, dog-eared folder. As he tried to place it on the counter, his trembling fingers betrayed him. The folder slipped, scattering papers across the pristine floor. A faded photograph of a young man in a military uniform, strikingly similar to Elias, fluttered face up near Miss Albright's polished shoes. Mr. Sterling let out a derisive snort. "Oh, for crying out loud. Can't even hold onto his papers. This is why we have a backlog, folks. Handouts for the helpless." He laughed, a harsh, grating sound. Miss Albright didn't help. She simply stared at the scattered papers, a look of annoyance replacing her feigned patience. "Mr. Thorne, this is highly inefficient. We need these forms organized. Do you understand?" Her voice was loud enough for everyone in the waiting room to hear. A few people shifted uncomfortably, some looked away, others simply stared, their faces impassive. Elias felt a flush creep up his neck, the familiar sting of public humiliation. He bent slowly, painfully, to retrieve a form, his old bones protesting. Just then, the heavy oak doors at the far end of the office swung open with a soft sigh. A man entered, his presence immediately commanding. He was tall, with a shock of silver hair and eyes that seemed to miss nothing. His suit was impeccable, adorned with a small, discreet lapel pin, a senator's seal. This was Senator Marcus Vance, a man whose name graced headlines and whose influence reached far beyond this small county office. He was here for a meeting with the county administrator, but his gaze, sharp and assessing, immediately fell upon Elias. Senator Vance paused, his eyes narrowing slightly as he took in the scene, the old man struggling on the floor, the scattered papers, the impatient clerk, the sneering businessman. Then his eyes landed on the faded photograph. He took a step forward, a look of profound recognition dawning on his face. "Sergeant Thorne," the senator's voice cut through the office, clear and resonant, silencing even the hum of the fluorescent lights. "Elias Thorne? Is that truly you?" Elias froze, his hand still reaching for a form. He slowly looked up, his eyes, once clouded with shame, now widening in disbelief. "Senator Vance?" he whispered, a tremor in his voice that was not of age, but of surprise. Senator Vance strode forward, ignoring Ms. Albright's startled expression and Mr. Sterling's sudden silence. He knelt without hesitation, his expensive suit creasing, and gently picked up the photograph. He looked at it, then at Elias, a deep respect etched on his face. "It is you," the senator said, his voice softer now, yet carrying immense weight. He stood, extending a hand to Elias. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, his voice carrying throughout the suddenly silent office, "this is Sergeant Elias Thorne. You may not know his name, but you owe him a debt you can never repay." He turned to Ms. Albright, his gaze unwavering. "Ms. Albright, do you know what this man did? In 1968, during a covert operation deep behind enemy lines, our unit was ambushed. Trapped, out of ammunition, and facing certain death, Sergeant Thorne, a medic, not a combat soldier, volunteered to draw fire, single-handedly creating a diversion that allowed us to escape. He carried 3 wounded men, including my own father, for miles through hostile territory, under constant fire, until we reached safety. He saved every single one of us." The office was so quiet you could hear the distant traffic. Ms. Albright's face had gone pale, her composure crumbling. Mr. Sterling, who had been about to retort, now stood frozen, his mouth slightly agape, a sickly green tinge spreading across his face. "He didn't ask for medals," Senator Vance continued, his voice ringing with conviction. "He didn't seek recognition. He simply did his duty, quietly, heroically, and without a moment's hesitation. He was injured in that mission, an injury that plagues him to this day." The senator looked at Elias, then back at the stunned faces. "And now he comes here, seeking the modest benefits he earned, and he is treated with contempt." He turned to Ms. Albright, his voice firm but not angry. "Ms. Albright, I believe Sergeant Thorne's claim needs immediate and respectful attention. And I suggest that from this day forward, every veteran who walks through these doors is treated with the dignity and gratitude they deserve. Is that understood?" Ms. Albright, flustered and mortified, stammered, "Yes, Senator. Absolutely. Right away." She quickly gathered Elias's scattered papers, her hands now surprisingly gentle. "Mr. Thorne, please come this way. We'll get this sorted immediately." Mr. Sterling, shrinking visibly, mumbled an inaudible apology and slunk out of the line, his earlier bluster utterly extinguished. Elias, his head held a little higher, allowed Ms. Albright to guide him to a private consultation room. As he passed Senator Vance, the senator gave him a quiet, respectful nod. "It's an honor, Sergeant," he said, his voice sincere. Elias simply nodded back, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. He was no longer just an old man with a cane and trembling hands. He was Elias Thorne, a hero, finally seen. The hum of the fluorescent lights still filled the office, but now it felt less like a headache and more like a quiet, steady rhythm of respect.